Okay, okay, great. So in this session, basically, we are just going to discuss about this technical resume part and the career counseling. Okay. So first of all, whenever you just apply for any of the job, right? So what is the main thing? The main thing is your resume, which is going to define your skill sets, all your work experience, your technical skill sets which you have, right? So all the things your resume is going to speak in the interview. So if your resume is not good, okay, so that resume will not be, the considerable. So most of the people I have seen, they have the skill sets, they have the technical skill sets, but first impression is the last impression, as we say. So the first impression which you are just going to, the print into the someone's mind, that is your resume. So your resume should be very clear, very specific, and also you just need to take care of most of the things while creating the resume, which people make a mistake and they say that they are not getting any call from any of the organization, though they have the skill sets, they have the experience, right? So obviously the some things are missing into your resume, okay, which you are either you are not aware from that one, or you have not prepared the resume into that required format. Okay, so to achieve the goal of your career in the terms of the interview functionality, your resume should be very specific and very clear about it. Okay, so we are going to see this one, the technical resume part, and how you should write your technical resume, how you should create the resume, what are the things you just need to take care of while preparing the resume, right? So here, this one. Okay. So basically, in the technical resume writing, if I say, look, as I told you, that why a strong resume is essential in the tech fields, the difference between the technical and the non-technical resume, and overview of the job market and landscape for the technical roles. Okay. Now, why a strong resume is essential in the tech fields? The reason is that because we have the multiple technical things in the market, right? We have a multiple technology. We have, like, as you say, you have the Excel, you have the Power BI, you have the Tableau, you have a C++, Java, Python, Alteryx. There are a lot of the tools are available into the market, which comes under this technical part. But now, if suppose if any of the company who are just looking for a candidate who is having the experience in the Power BI, or who are experienced in the Java in some specific domain they are just looking for, right? But you have not prepared a such kind of a resume which as per their company requirement, right? So that will be the quite difficult for them to to identify or to get a specific resume for their job position. So the strong resume basically is that, for example, if you are aware from the Excel, you are aware from the Power BI, you are aware from the Python, the multiple skill sets you have. So every technical tool has a different feature and functionality, right? If you just go for the SQL query is a different one. If you go for the Python query is a different one. If you go for the Excel, in the Excel, you use the Excel functions, which are the different one, right? So there is no such kind of a similarity in all the tools, right? So that's why when you are just defining the tools into your resume, then also you just need to mention the points that what exactly you have done into that particular tool, or which functionality you are aware from. For example, if someone has written that yes, I have done the work into the Power BI, Okay, suppose the someone has written and someone says, okay, I have the experience in the Power BI since 5 years. Now, seeing this or reading this line into the resume, I cannot make a assumption that that person is aware or that person has a 5 years experience in the Power BI desktop app or into the Power BI services application or into the Power BI admin role, right? Because one of the tool can have the multiple categories or the multiple segments, right? So sometime it happens that the job can be for the specific role. Company is looking for, suppose XYZ company is looking for the Power BI admin. But now you have written that you have a 5 years experience or the 7 years experience into the Power BI. Now the company will get confused, right? And they will not consider your CV because you have written that you have a experience as a 5 years or the 7 years of experience in the Power BI, but they have a specific role which is related to the Power BI admin, and into your resume it is not mentioned that you have a 5 years or the 7 years experience into which category, into Power BI desktop, into Power BI services, into the Power BI admin, or what, right? So that's why when you are writing your technical skill sets, so you should be very, very specific into that one. So whenever you are writing your resume, so somebody should not ask any of the thing related to your resume that okay, this is something is missing and this is something or I'm not able to identify into your resume, right? If you have done or if you're aware from this functionality, please highlight into your resume. So your resume will be a wider or the wider role into the market, right? So that will be the wider spread very easily. So if you have written that you have the knowledge about the Power BI desktop application, you have work on the Power BI services also, and you have work on the Power BI admin role also. So now you have these three segments job. If somebody is looking for the Power BI developer who has done the power role on the Power BI desktop and created the multiple dashboards, then your CV will be considered. If any company is looking for the Power BI admin role, your CV will be fit there also. If any company is looking for the Power BI developer where they are looking for the Power BI desktop and Power BI services, there also your resume will be fit. So the more things you will describe into your resume, you will just get a lot of the opportunity in that case. Okay. Now this is basically look the difference between the technical and the non-technical resume. So like in the non-technical resume, obviously there will be the no tech roles, so there will be no technology will be mentioned, so that is related to the some skill sets and the job experience related. But for the technical profile, your technical skill sets play a major role to switch your job or to get the opportunity into the market. So for a technical person, the technical skill sets, the technology play a high important role to switch your job or to find an opportunity into the market. So you should be more conscious about this one when you are just creating your resume. Then your resume should be a very specific related to your profile. Now, the key components of a technical resume. The key components like the header, in the header on the top of it, you should mention your name, your contact information, that is basically in the contact information, your email ID, your cell phone number. And also remember one thing, your email ID should not be the fancy. Okay. That should be like your name and at the rate then the domain.com. For example, Like my name is Anup. So like here I can just take the example like anup.kumar@gmail.com, or if this is already there, then you can take some prefix or the suffix keyword, but those keywords should not be the fancy keyword. Okay. For example, it should not be a fancy keyword like most of the people I have seen, they have just taken the fancy keyword. Okay. So the fancy keyword which is not related to your first name or your last name, right? So your email ID should be a very, very professional email ID, which should contain your first name, middle name. If in that way, I'm just talking about if that email ID is already exists, then you can take the combination of your first name, last name, middle name, or your date of birth. That is absolutely fine. But apart from this one, it should not be any fancy keyword. Okay. So in contact information, your email ID will come and your cell phone number will come. Okay. And always remember when you are mentioning your cell phone number, also mention the country code. Like for this example, for the India, mention the +91, then hyphen, and then mention your country code. Sorry, then mention your cell phone number. Okay. And for a professional way, you should have your LinkedIn account. Okay. So you should create your LinkedIn account within the professional way where all the information you should mention, and you should mention that LinkedIn URL into your resume. If you have created that one, that should be mentioned. And ideally, for each and every professional, your account should be on the LinkedIn. So create that LinkedIn account and also create the GitHub account. GitHub also comes under into the professional way. So basically the GitHub, I will tell you that how you can create the GitHub account and how you can upload the files and everything. We will see that. But why do we use the GitHub? The GitHub basically we use for uh, to sharing our projects with the XYZ person or with some external person. So GitHub is just like a repository. Normally, what you do, if you have to keep something into your system, you create the folder and you put the files and everything there, right? But what happens when we just go for into the professional way, and now, for example, the XYZ company, one second. Suppose, for example, the XYZ company, okay, has given you project. You have received a call from a one organization, and now they are looking for your technical test, and for that they have just given you the some files and the some requirement that is basically your technical test, okay, or technical assessment. Now they have given you and you have completed that one. And now if you want to share that project with them, so the first thing you can reply on the same email. But for example, if the file size is more than the 25 MB, right? Because the uh, Google Drive or the email has a limitation that you cannot attach the more than the 25 MB file, right? So now, for example, if you have created a dashboard, right, and which contains the large volume data and the file size example that is a 30 MB. So you will not be able to upload on the email, right? So it doesn't mean that you upload on your Google Drive and then you are sharing the link. No. In that case, the professional way is that project you have to upload on the GitHub, and that GitHub URL you have to share with them. So once they will click on that, they will be able to see all your uploaded files. So in the professional way, when we have to share the project or any of the file with someone, so we can upload the file on the GitHub account, and from there we can share with anyone. And also you can use the GitHub for your purpose. For example, if you have created any of your project and that project you want to share with a public domain, like you want to share that project on your LinkedIn account. So you can upload that files on the GitHub, and you can take the URL of the GitHub and post on the LinkedIn so people can access that files which you have uploaded on the GitHub. Okay. Now, this summary and the objective statement that also should be there. So the summary and objective is basically, if you have a experience, then in the summary you should represent that you have these many years of experience in these skills. Okay, like for example, you can say I have a overall 5+ years of my experience in this automation and analytics, and I have worked on these tools. Okay, so this is basically the kind of a summary. So if somebody will read the summary into your resume, so they can understand, okay, this person has these many experience and these are the skill sets this person is carrying. Okay. The technical skills, the key language, framework, and tools you should mention, and those skills you can highlight into the bold. Okay. Professional experience, tailoring accomplishment to showcase the technical skills. Okay. So the technical skills you can, show into the abbreviations also. Like for example, most of the people I have seen, they are writing the complete robotic process automation like RPA. Most of the people are, showing this to the RPA. So whatever the technical skill sets you have, you should mention. Also, you should highlight your project. So you can see the highlighting personal, academic, or the open source project. Okay. For example, if in your academic, if you have completed any project, okay, during your academic, for example, you have received a project which is basically the based on the Python. Okay, so what is a framework, right? So basically, the framework, if I just talk about, so that is basically, like for example, we have a different kind of a frameworks, right? So like people has done on the CSS, the Java, okay, if these kind of a frameworks also, which is basically, which is going to demonstrate the tools, the particular tools you can say. So that is basically the part of this framework. Okay. You should also mention the projects also which you have done during your academic or open source project, or the highlighting the personal one. For example, during your academics, if you have received a project which you have completed, right? So that project you can mention. Or if at your end you have created a such kind of a project which is not given by anyone, but that is basically your approach, right? Or that is something you have completed at your end, that is not a technical assessment, or that is not you have received that during the academic, that is something you have done from your learning point of view and all. So that is the open source project, or that is a free projects you can say. So that also you can mention. But make sure when you are mentioning your projects, you should mention the name of the project, and then you should mention at least 3 to 4 bullet points which indicate that particular projects, that what you have done into that projects. Okay. Related to, for example, suppose there is a project which is related to the web scraping. Okay. Suppose you have to read the data from the BSc or the NSC web page, and that is something you have to do from the Python. Okay, suppose this is a project you have done. So you can mention the project name. Example, web scraping or data extraction from NSE or BSE, and then you can mention the some bullet points also, 3 to 4 bullet points, which shows the requirements of the project. Okay, it doesn't mean that you have only mentioned the project name. No, just mention the project name and 3 to 4 bullet points. So if somebody read the name of the projects and read the bullet points, so it will give the more clarity about that project, that what you have done into that projects. Okay, some bullet points also you can mention, and below that you can make a label, like there you can mention the tool that you have used, the Python and web page. Okay, so seeing that one, anyone can easily understand, okay, this is a project this person has done, this was the requirement, and this tool Python plus web page or the web activity that person has used. And please make sure if you are writing any of the project into your resume, you must be very aware from that end to end, because they can ask you whatever the project you have mentioned, they can ask you, okay, please describe me that what you have done into that project, what are the challenges you have faced and how you have tackled that situation. Okay, these kind of a question can be asked the from the project which you have mentioned. So don't mention any of the blindly project on which you have never worked upon. So don't mention that project. Mention that project only on which you have done work and you are completely comfortable to explain that. Okay, so mention those projects. In the education, you should mention your relevant degrees, certification, and boot camps. Okay. So in the education, you should mention the relevant degree, like you have completed the MCA, the BCA, MTech, BTech. Okay. All the relevant degrees you should mention. Apart from this one, if you have done any kind of a certification, like for example, if you have done the certification on the Power BI, you have done the certification on the Python or on the Alteryx, on any of the technical tools also. Okay, or apart from this also, if you have done any kind of a certifications for which you have a proper certificate, okay, that is a completed certificate you have, that also should be mentioned into your resume. Okay, or if you have attended any boot camps activity where you have performed, so or any kind of a hackathon if you have attended where you have participated, so that also you can mention. Okay, you can see which I have mentioned into this optional sections, the publications, the conferences, the hackathons, right? Volunteer work. So that is something you can mention also. Like if you have taken the participation into the hackathons activity, in the technical hackathon activities where you have just participated, so that also you can mention that one. Now, the showcasing the technical skills. Okay, so here, if you want to showcase the technical skills, so you have to create a section with a name as a skills. You can use the skills or you can mention as a technical skills also. So there should be a section, and that section ideally should come below the summary. Okay, so on the top of your resume, your name, your email ID, your LinkedIn URL, your GitHub URL, your phone number, that will come. And then below that, your summary will come, and below that, your technical skills. So that skill section should come, and organize this by the category, like the programming language. So in the programming language, you can just go for this one, like the SQL, like the Python, like the VBA, C++, Java, and so on, right? And in the tools, you can just mention like you are aware from the Power BI tool, right? Which doesn't contains the programming language. So the RPA tool, you can mention the Okay, if you are aware from that. And in the framework, like if you have done on the Java main framework, right? If you have done on that, or the CSS, the HTML on this kind of a framework which contains related to the web page activity, if you have done so far, so you can mention into that also. Okay. Then listing skills that match to the job description also. Okay, and you can see the below examples of the skill section for the different technical skills role, example software engineer or the data scientist and so on and so forth. So look, y- your resume should contain those skill sets on which actually you have worked on, and you can face the questions on that and you can answer that one. Okay, because most of the time when I have taken the interview, then I have seen in the people, they have written the lot of the skill sets into their resume, but ideally they are aware from the 2 to 3 skill sets, not more than that. Okay, so that doesn't shows the good impression. Okay, so if you are aware from the skills, then say yes, I'm aware from these skills, and on this I have completed the some project and I'm aware from the functionality of these tools or this programming language. But if you are not aware from the that programming language or that tools, please do not mention that one. Though you will receive a call, you might get a call, but when they will ask the question on that, if you'll not be able to answer that one, it doesn't make any sense, right? Or if you are mentioning that one, so please make sure that you are just working on that one, or at least you should have. I'm not saying the 100% knowledge, but if you are writing any of the tools or programming language into your resume, so please make sure that at least 75 to 80% you are aware from that. Okay, it doesn't mean that you are only aware from the 10%. You have seen the some kind of a YouTube videos or you have read the some documentation. It doesn't make the sense. Either you have worked completely, you have worked on the some project and you are confident that yes, you can handle the project for that particular programming language or for that particular tools, then please mention it. Or at least you are aware from the 75 to 80% of the functionality of that tool or that programming language. Okay. So if they ask the question, so you will be able to answer that one. And be very honest into the interview. Okay, be the confident, be very. And in the interview also, as I always say, a good listener can be a good analyzer. So first of all, just listen the question very carefully, because in the technical, they will give you the sometime they will just give you the question which are basically related to the some scenario based. Okay, some scenario based, so you have to listen the question very carefully, analyze that, and then answer the logically. Okay, so always remember this point. Okay, now in the professional experience, if I say, so the professional experience, like you have a 5 years experience, or you have a 3 years experience, or you have a 7 years of experience, right? So if you have a some kind of a achievement, right, into your professional career, so please mention that one. Okay, or the quantifying impact into the technical contribution, you should also mention. For example, if you have automated a such kind of a process through which the business was impacted in the sense the growth point of view. Okay, so where you have saved the lot of the profit for the business, right? So through your technical skill sets, or through your performance, or through your another skill sets, right? So in that case you just need to highlight that one. Like for example, suppose you are a developer, right, and you have set a such kind of a business where the another resources was not required to hire, and you have streamlined the process for a long period of a time. Okay, and which have saved the lot of the uh, amount, or which has created a more profit for the business. Okay, because of these kind of contributions. So these kind of things also you can highlight that one. Okay, which has created a good impact on your current organization, and through which you have received a such kind of achievements, or the appreciated emails also. So that also you can mention into your resume. Okay. Highlighting the technical projects. Okay. So the technical projects, as I have already told you, that if you have created a such kind of a technical projects during your academics, or that is a open source, or in your current organization, if you have created a such kind of a project also, right? So that project name, the technology used, and the brief description and the outcome. See,